When I'm 84, if I look back at my life and I didn't take the chance to write the book when the chance was there, what will I think of myself? And I realized that I will have regrets. And I don't want to have regrets. I can have all sorts of mishaps and explosions and things go wrong, but I don't want regrets. So I decided to go for it. Hi, my name is Erik. I'm the co-author of a book called Callista's Paradox. I have co-written it together with a Canadian author called Elaine Sterling. And we wrote this book very recently, over the last 6 months or so. I'm 52 years old and I started to write it last year, so I was 51. And one question that I get quite a lot is, why did I start to write a book at the age of 51, given that I had never written a book before, and that I'm actually a banker turned startupper turned consultant turned venture capitalist. I have my own venture capital setup called ERIK Ventures, where I invest in early day startups. So it's an unorthodox move to become an author. And since I get that question all the time, I thought I would expand a little bit on that. So consulting companies need to show their clients that they have new thinking worthwhile listening to. That brings them relevance and client meetings. And in these client meetings, you can sell projects. But thought leadership is marketing, essentially. 3 years ago, 2023, I wrote this piece called Nordic Banking 2033. I did that together with a guy that just stepped out as CEO of a bank. So it's a Finnish bank called Aktia, the third largest bank in Finland. Mikko Ayub is the name of the guy that I knew from previous work experience. And he was CEO 5 years for that bank, and then he stepped down. And while at the same time, I worked at a consulting firm called Bearing Point. You can see that here, Bearing Point. Bearing Point is a global tech management consulting firm, about 6,000 people all around the world, but predominantly in Europe. Now, like all other consulting firms, McKinsey, BCG, Bain, Ernst & Young, KPMG, and all the rest, Bearing Point, of course, wants to meet the clients, and you can meet them if you have a strong relationship, but we want to bring something with you that proves that you have some innovative thinking. That's good to take to existing clients, but it's also good to take to new ones. It also gives you possibilities to have seminars and bring people to your office and talk about their problems or challenges, and you might sell consulting services. Now, this first one here is, as the title might suggest, Nordic Banking 2033. It was a forward-looking piece where we looked into how Nordic banking may look like 10 years from now and the challenges. Now, this then led me to write the book, and that is what I will talk about. So this one, we had about 50 CEO meetings together, Mikko and I. What they all said when we presented the Nordic Banking 2033 is that, yeah, thank you for that piece, it's very good, and we would love to follow your advice, but it's difficult. We have so much legacy problems. Essentially, the buildup of stuff over time, over the last few decades, up to 50 years old, there's so much trouble, and the IT systems are so interconnected that it's almost impossible to do something easy. You always get stuck in one dependency or the other, and it's very, very hard to get that right. So we set out to write this white paper about legacy, and I did that together again with Mikko, the ex-banking CEO, but we found out that legacy is a problem that is omnipresent. It's pretty much in every industry. So we managed to collect a really strong group of co-authors there. We had Finnair, the local flagship carrier in Finland, Finnair's CFO or former CFO, Mika Stirkinen. We had Jyri Raitasalo, a one-star general or a one lion in Finland as they have it, but he's a one-star general, so a brigade commander. He also has a PhD in war studies. And then we had a psychotherapist to write about psychological traumas, because they are your psychological legacy situation. And then we had a long string of other really strong co-authors. And we wrote this. It's a thick report, like 70 pages or so. You can download it for free. If you go to Bearing Point and you search Bearing Point Legacy Report, you can download that for free there if you have hunger for details. Now, we met more than 100 CEOs with this one. And the feedback was, this is great. You have done a really good piece of work. You should really do a book, is what they said to us. And so we decided to do that. And here is that book. The book is called Callista's Paradox. And I thought I would talk about why I decided to do that. Now, we had these pieces, so we had the thought material in place. And I was thinking to myself, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I am 51. If I don't do it now, I will really regret. So I did something that I do when I think about sort of big decisions or big-ish. Of course, writing a book is not a massive one, but it's, you're going to spend a year or so spending a lot of time with that. And I did what I call the 84-year-old test. So I thought, when I'm 84, if I look back at my life and I didn't take the chance to write the book when the chance was there, what will I think of myself? And I realized that I will have regrets. And I don't want to have regrets. I can have all sorts of mishaps and explosions and things go wrong, but I don't want regrets. So I decided to go for it. And we elaborated, we did a bit of thinking around doing the book in Finnish in Finland. It's a too small market. I live in Finland. And then I decided to start to research this. So I started to reach out to people on predominantly LinkedIn, but many other places. And then I came in contact with Elaine Sterling. So a lady that has more than 40 years experience in literature. And she has written 12 books. This is her 13th. And I started to talk to her, and I said, simply, I reached out to her and asked if I could get her advice on how to move forward with this book project that I wanted to do. And we started to talk, and we realized that, so I sent the green white paper over to her, and she read it. She came back and said, this is really strong material, extremely strong set of authors, really well developed sort of thought leadership here. This is basically all the thought material to write the book is already in place. However, it is quite boring to read. So if you want to write a book that anybody will buy, more than 5,000 consultants globally, you need to make it more accessible. And the way to do it is to do a novella. So that's what we set out to do. So we discussed with some other people, and through a couple of months during fall last year. So the interesting thing is this, I met Elaine, today is the 10th of June 2026. Now, I met Elaine 15th of August last year. So that's actually pretty much exactly 10 months ago on a LinkedIn post. And we started to discuss. And then during the fall last year, we decided to do this book. But she had to go to El Salvador for a poetry conference. So we couldn't start until 1st of January. So we started 1st of January. And we originally set out to write the book and publish it in the fall. So we would have 10 months to write it. But then we decided halfway through the process to ignore traditional publishing and instead do self-publishing on Amazon. The beauty of that is that we own the development cycles. And because Elaine lives in Canada and I live in Europe, she could write during the daytime there, send it over to me, and I would write during the daytime here. And that way we could have sort of 24-hour editing cycles. We could constantly write on the book. Essentially, the book was in production 24/7 for 3 months. So it took us 3 months to write it, another month to do editing, and then boom, it's out. We are now starting to market it and sell it, and will this become a massive success? Well, that's yet to be seen. We aim to sell 1 million copies globally. And if you want to have a look, you can go to Callista's Paradox on Amazon, and it's for sale there. But that's how it happened that I became an author, which I had actually never planned to be. But sometimes, serendipity serves you a hand that is simply too good to not act on. And I think that there are 2 lessons there apart from writing a book. One is the speed with which you can make things happen if you decide. It took us less than a year from not knowing each other at all to having a book published together. And we will now actually become a book publishing company, so we will do more books. But the real production time was 3 months of 24/7 writing. So things can be done faster than you think if you want to. That's lesson number 1. Lesson number 2, I think, is the decision. At the age of 51, I could have continued doing consulting. How did I finance this is then the question to anybody that is thinking the same. Well, I basically put my life on a sort of a minimum cost level wherever I could. I downsized work to sort of 1/3 of regular employment, and then thank you for bearing point for being very flexible with that. Not everyone is able to do that, but I did that. So my income level dropped a lot. But I simply knew that if I don't do this now, I will regret. And my takeaway is often when you stand between two choices, the choice is you think it's between doing it or not doing it, whatever it might be. But I came to the conclusion that if I do it, there might be some explosions. Something goes wrong. But if I don't do it, I will have regrets. And I find that often the decisions are like that. It's not should I or shouldn't I do it. The question is, if I do it, something might go wrong. Can I live with things going wrong? Essentially explosions, like poof. Yes, I can live with explosions. I am not that afraid of that. You know, you will survive, you won't look back at them, and you will learn and you move on. But if you don't do it, you will risk living with regrets. And regrets is worse, I think, than explosions. So my thinking was that actually I'm choosing between the risk of explosions or the certainty of regret. And I much rather have the risk of explosions than a certain regret. So I did it. And I think when you think about decision making in that way, you might do things, it's more likely that you get stuff done. I think it's also another way to think of it is that you negate the question rather than ask, why should I do this? You ask yourself, why not? And when you think of it that way, it's sometimes a bit easier to move forward and do it. Anyway, I've been asked many, many times, how come I sort of, moved away from consulting, which is a very, safe and good income and all of that, to do a book. That's why. Thank you.